Generosity without wisdom, it is useless. Let me say that one again, once again. Generosity without wisdom, it is useless. And anything that is useless, it means it is not useful. It is not helping nobody. You yourself seated there, I know you love to help. I know you love to give. And by the way, when I talk generosity without wisdom, I'm touching the issues of black tax. I'm touching the issues of even taking care of your life, taking care of others, and what have you. You must have what we call the wisdom deep inside of you so that you understand to what extent am I supposed to be generous? On what things am I supposed to be generous? Let me ask a very simple question before I even tell you to subscribe, but go ahead and subscribe as I'm sharing this information here. Now, let's say you sell, say, these watches, okay? Let's say you sell watches, for example. And let's say, usually sell your watches, say, at $2, for example. Okay? Now, for you to sell these $2, of course, you must have a source. And where you source, let's call that place X. And then let's say you call your watch shop XYZ. Are we together? And then you have a competitor here called ABC. They also sell watches, and they usually sell their watches, let's say, their watches at $3. Okay? Now, the point is, of course, here are customers. And let's say you are selling the same quality watches and everything is still the same. Now, obviously, it's no brainer. Customers will flow to your place, isn't it? Now, if customers will flow to your place because they are getting the similar deal with a bit of an affordable price, or let's just be logical here. Let's say you sell at $2.50. Okay, I to go $2.50, whichever you call it. Now, the point is they are flowing in because they are saving their 50 cents out of their cash. Now, the point is your ABC or your competitor wonders a lot. Hey, where does this XYZ get their watches for them to afford to sell this? And let's say this X place where you source, it is not where this guy, let's say this ABC sources their watches from Y place. Are we together? Now, you find when ABC sources from Y place, he must sell it at $2.50 for them to realize a what? A profit. And let's say both of you are realizing the same profit. You are realizing the 50 cents profits. He or she is realizing the same amount of money. But you're selling it at 2, they are selling theirs at 50. Now, this X place where you source this commodity is your secret. Why? It is where you get that product. If you now decide because you are generous, you are good, you are wise, and what have you, then you share the idea with your competitors. Let's say you get an average of 100 customers in a day, and then you go share that source X to your competitor because your competitor is your what? Is your friend and or something like that, or maybe you decided to be generous and you share that idea. Now, guess what happens now? The competitor will source it from person X. And then happens now, he gonna sell now at 2. Guess what happens now? Customer does not have a reason to come to your place because you are selling the same product, the same price. So customers, they can, let's say 100 guys shows up here, then they look for other things. Convenience, accessibility, customer service, and what have you. Guess what happens now? You have shot your foot. You have shot your foot in the name of generosity. Hang in there. We are coming around. We are coming around. Now, what happens? There's some of the things that you don't need to be generous because you need wisdom to run a business. You don't need emotions. And when it comes to generosity, this is mostly emotional-based decisions. Well, most of the people, they feel to help, they don't think to help. But if you ask me, I would say think to help, not feel to help. When you think to help, this is when you can interpret such kind of a scenario. If I share this information, I'm going to shoot myself. I said, hanging there. Are we together? Now, let's use another case scenario here. Let's say people call you from your home. They ask you to help them with finances. They are facing difficulties. And truly, they deserve to be helped because they are on their lowest. Now, listen one thing here. Not everyone who is or not your family members that they need money. I repeat, not everyone from your family members that they need money. Some need responsibilities. They need to be taught. Let's say here you are the firstborn. Let's say you are a boy or a girl or whichever the thing it is, okay? Now, what happens is that you have your siblings here who ask you for some cash, who ask you for something, your parents and whatever, a lot of people who depends on you. Now they tell you, hey, throw me 2,000, and then you throw your 2,000 there, you help anyone, and what have you, 1,000, 3,000, 500, 2, whatever the thing it is. Now what happens, like, you feel like you are responsible of taking care of their lives. Indeed, if you are blessed or if you have some cash, you can help them. But have you ever thought, do these people really, or let's say this person in isolation, does this person in isolation truly needs my handout? Because when you give somebody some cash, okay, you're giving them the handout. Do they really need the handout, or do they really need to be taught on how to handle the handout? Which one do you give first? Do you give what we call, what do we call it? I'm looking at the best term. Do you give them the wisdom? Do you share with them the knowledge on how to use the handout, or do you just give them the handout and then you be like, whatever they're gonna do with that cash? Not everyone needs money. Some need responsibilities. And have you ever zoomed in to ask them, how do you manage your cash? How do you manage your cash? You know, let me tell you one secret. There are people who are irresponsible of their own cash, and once they mess up, or because they are irresponsible, now their irresponsibility is usually cautioned or covered by your generosity. I repeat, you find somebody is irresponsible of managing their money. Now, their irresponsibility is covered by your generosity. For example, let's say this is your brother or a sister or whoever. They usually earn, say, 40K in a month. They have a family, they have kids and a wife or husband or what have you, and then they do the expenses. Before, see, there are people who, the moment they get paid, they misuse their cash. You find this person earns 40,000, but in a month, they drink 15K. They're alcoholic. They throw parties and what have you. So 15K from this 40K, they are remaining with 25K. Let's say their expenses in a month is usually 30K. Guess what? They are 5K short. They are 5K short. What do you think they will do? For them to cover up the 5K that is missing, hey bro, hey sis, would you mind if you can give me the 5K? I'm facing a lot of difficulties. Now, guess what happens now? This 5K could have actually been gotten from a what? From the 15K. Now, because they drink that 5K, irresponsibility, the 5K that was meant to cater for their lifestyle, guess what now? Because they have drink and they have actually enjoyed themselves, now they want you, because they know you are generous, to cover that 5K for them to actually have a what? A running. And the funny thing is this, you're not getting yourself out of woods of this 5K, because this behavior of drinking 15K is prolonged. It does not have an end. The next month they will do so, the next month, the next month, the next month, the next month. So are you solving the problem, or are you simply swallowing the, antibiotics, or not really antibiotics per se, but are you swallowing the painkillers at every time the signs shows or when the pain shows up? Now, you're supposed to zoom in and ask yourself, hey, how much do you earn? How much do you spend on this? And the moment you zoom in into their life, asking them, by the way, there are two sets of people here. The moment you go into their life and ask them, how much do you earn? How much do you pay for your rent? How much goes for your food? What is your plan? How is your life? How responsible are you? Do you do this, and what have you? Guess what happens now? The moment you zoom in, they usually do what we call, they develop that a wall of that defense mechanism, because they don't want to share that. They just tell you, hey, you know what, just help me if you can, regardless of whatever I do, if you can. But if you can't, just leave it. I don't want it. They tend to be rude. The moment you now try to peg them to be more accountable of their behaviors, that is exactly what they do. Now, tell me, if you never zoomed in and you keep on helping them in this manner without really telling them or showing them how to fish, show them. Sometimes I tell people, even if they will never hear you, tell them how you got yourself out of the issue, out of the woods. I was doing this. I was actually denying myself. There's something called the what do you call it? The delayed gratification. I didn't do what what you're doing. Well, I cannot assure you that if you do what I did, you'll be successful. But truly, there's some of the principles that you can borrow from what I did, and they can help you to take care of what you have. And then, if you are destined to be whatever you would like to be, then you're gonna reach there. Now, this is where now you wear the shoes of responsibilities of checking it out there. Not everyone needs that particular thing. So you can be generous again to a point whereby, now this is another very, very sensitive issue that is going on out there. Let's say you are blessed, let's say you earn 500K, okay? And then of course you live a good life, and then to a point whereby all this money is actually divided amongst your family members. Amongst your what? The family members, of which there is nothing wrong with that. Now, what happens? You deny yourself the responsibility of taking care of your future because you are arguably on your productive age. Now, this money, you tell every member of your family, live as good as you can. Of course, you can't tell them that, but by your behaviors and action and your generosity is telling them you can live your best life as you can. And the funny thing, you are not telling them to take care of their life. You're not telling them, hey, see, right now we have a cow that you're milking. Let's take care of this cow so that one day at least we can be assured of the sustainability of the milk. So nobody's doing it. You, the source, you're not even taking care of your future. Who are the beneficiaries? They're not taking care of the future. And guess what happens now? Because you are the empire, if the empire collapses, guess what happens? If the empire collapses, then everything's down below crumbles. Or let's say they are responsible enough, they build their lives out of your generosity, but you're not building yours. Guess what happens now? And then one day your empire collapses. Guess what happens now? Unless they are God-chosen people, they would be able to uplift you, of which that is what is supposed to be in a community, in your family. Go to the Somali community, that is exactly what they do. Go to the Indian community, that is exactly what they do. Go to the Jews community, that is exactly what they do. You help somebody because you never know. If one goes down, then those who have been in power, they uplift the other one. And then you never realize any glitch in that particular family. What? Because you do not know their fate. You do not know how they take things, okay? Now, assuming you crumble, they have built their lives, guess what happens now? Most of them, they end up talking about you. Hey, you are a fool. You didn't build yourself. You had the opportunity. If I had the opportunity, now it's them talking. If I had the opportunity that you had, I could have been here. I could have been there. Could have done this, and such kind of things. Now, when you get yourself in that situation, guess what happens now? You develop what we call anxiety. The anxiety comes with the stress. And then the stress matures to depression. Are we together? It matures to depression. And the moment you're in this is what we call the mental health or mental illness. You cannot even now fathom things. You cannot decipher things in the way they are supposed to be. Now what happens is that, sure, be generous, help people, support them, but I will say you'd rather spend your time building them, not giving them the handout, teaching them how the things work, so that they can also build themselves. And as much as you're doing that, even the Bible itself says, hey, you know what? There is no way you can see, I don't know, a plot in your friend's eye and there is a whole log in your eyes and what have you. I mean, it simply says, hey, take care of yourself. I know the Bible was talking about judging people. Sure, we can contextualize that to this and, take care of yourself, take care of your finances, be responsible, show that responsibility. And the moment you have been blessed with more money or wealth or the blessings, how you're going to call it, you're supposed to ask for the wisdom, because wisdom is an ultimate thing that you need to have. And you should also depict the signs of a leader. You're not supposed to only have, but have you ever met people who have money but they don't have the brains? Well, I know you're about to ask me, then how did they get the money if they don't have the brains? Some inherited. Or some people are just lucky. Somebody just wins the lottery. I mean, you don't need to be smart. You don't have to have the highest IQ to win a lottery. You can just do it. I mean, luck can just fall on you. Boom, you have the cash. The next time you should look at them, the way they are, articulating issues, the way they are behaving, the way they are talking, you don't see any elements of wisdom inside of them. You don't see any element of somebody who is responsible, accountable, and such kind of a thing. Now, the point is, please, as much as you're going to be generous, please have the wisdom, because if you be generous, you don't have the wisdom, it's going to be useless. Even the people that you're helping, they ain't going to be helped. So at the end of the day, your generosity without wisdom, it becomes useless. That's what, for example, I usually see people who are outside the country. They want to start business for their family members, but you don't understand the principles of businesses. You don't understand their personalities when it comes to cash. You are sending $1 million shilling to a family member who is back at home, who is a spender, somebody who loves luxury. And then you're telling them, do this and that. They ain't gonna do that. You're sending $1 million, 2, 10, 50, whatever the amount of money to somebody back at home. They are not even responsible of their lives. And I remember back then when we were growing up, like you Gen Zs, we millennials, when we were growing up, when you could ask your father, let's say for, 50K, you want to start a business, they always ask this question: what do you have yourself? Sure, you want me to give you 50K. I mean, what do you have for yourself? They're trying to detect, to see to what extent are you responsible. Sure, I know you may have been having a problem raising 50K, but are you able to raise 2? Are you able to raise 3? Do you have 10? Do you have 7? So that they can be, what? You are responsible enough. If you didn't manage to raise the 5 by yourself, if I give you this 50, you're going to take care of yourself. But when you say I have nothing, actually I'm in debt, whew, that is a problem. Now, my brothers and sisters, this is exactly what happens. Please be generous. I 100% support that. Maybe that should leave that as my disclaimer. I 100% support that, but accompany that with wisdom. This is Good Joseph. As always, make sure that you leave a comment on the comment section. Make sure that as well you subscribe. And if you need my services in one way or the other, pick that number of mine, shoot me a call, let's talk business. My number is on the description of this particular video. For now, so goodbye, see you in the next one.